Welcome back to the Davening Experience. We have arrived at the bracha Ata Kadosh. Let's first discuss where we're holding in the Shemona Esrei, and then we're going to talk about what it means. Ata Kadosh, V'Shimcha Kadosh, said a Kadosh Baruch Hu, you are holy, and your name is holy. So first things first, we are at a nexus. We're in between talking about the Magen Avram idea, the Gevura idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're about to begin with our requests of HaKadosh Baruch Hu for things that we, Klal Yisrael in general, the world at large, need every single day. So what we're about to say is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Kadosh. How does that fit sort of in between? And it seems to me that the basic idea is that when we praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then we're about to request from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's a certain step back that we need to take. Because we've taken 3 steps forward to approach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to feel very personal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the only way to really be able to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for something is to take a step back and realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is totally different and totally above, totally beyond. He is totally Kadosh. Kadosh means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is other than. There's nothing that we could ever use to describe him because he is completely removed from this world. I want to share with you an idea from a Gemara. The Gemara has what seems to be a very strange idea. The Gemara says in a couple of places that the Aron that was in the Holy of Holies and the Kodesh HaKadashim, that the Aron Eino min Hamida, which translates roughly into that the Aron didn't take up space. And the Gemara describes that the Aron was in the middle of the Kodesh HaKadashim, the Holy of Holies, and if one were to take a measuring stick, a tape measure, and measure the distance from the wall all the way to the other side of the room was 20 amos wide. If, however, one would take a measuring stick and measure from the wall to one side of the Aron, and from that side to this side of the Aron, on both sides getting to the Aron would be 10 amos. Wait, so where was the Aron then? That should have met in the middle. The whole room was only 20 amos long. How do you get 10 amos to one side and 10 amos to the other side? And the answer is Aron eino min amida. The Aron didn't take up space. It didn't count in the mathematics. That's the end of the Gemara. And the question really is, what's the Gemara driving at? What's the idea behind that? It's some kind of miracle. What would be the purpose of that? And I always thought that the basic idea was that when a person is in the Kodesh HaKadashim, who's in the Kodesh HaKadashim? Holiest person in the holiest place in the holiest day. The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur is in the Kodesh HaKadashim. And you can imagine that he must feel very close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Aron, after all, is the place of connection between us and Hashem. It's the place of communication that the Nevi'im would focus on, and the word of Hashem, so to speak, would come through in between the wings of the Kruvim, the cherubs on top of the ark, top of that Aron. And a person probably thinks he really finally has come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then all of a sudden, he takes a closer look, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu isn't there. That the idea is that when we approach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we think we have a relationship, and then we think we have a sense of what he is, who he is. And it's not really true that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Kadosh. And by the way, that's probably why we never refer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu simply as HaKadosh. In fact, I just said it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We always say HaKadosh and then Baruch Hu, because HaKadosh seems very distant. And we always need to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the world. And in fact, in Kedusha, which would be said exactly here in davening, when there's Zaras Hashatz and there's Kedusha, first we talk about that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And what's the very next thing we say? We say Baruch. And ultimately Yimloch. But the Baruch is to bring a Kadosh Baruch Hu like we spoke about when we spoke about bowing. So the idea that we're reminding ourselves right here at this point in Shemona Esrei is that yes, we've approached a Kadosh Baruch Hu and we feel very close to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And we're about to ask things of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And we remind ourselves, number one, that we're not as close as we think. We should never think that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is part of this world. And when we're going to ask from him, we should know his capacity is because he's the source of everything that's in this world. He's beyond everything in this world. And the moment that we say Kadosh, we should remind ourselves what it means that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is Kadosh.